Welcome to WHRO's Weekly Edition. I'm Jordan Christie.
And I'm Barry Graham.
We highlight the week's news and stories happening all over Hampton Roads. In this week's program, President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth paid visits to Hampton Roads in the last week to celebrate the Navy's 250th anniversary and announce a new housing initiative for junior sailors and soldiers.
Old Dominion's latest State of the Region says you should expect changes in federal policy to unpredictably impact the local economy.
We've seen trade through the Port of Virginia slow as the result of tariffs.
And federal flood insurance has halted in the midst of the government shutdown. It's leaving people in southeastern Virginia vulnerable. It's WHRO's Weekly Edition. Great news if you've been looking to cut down on your utility bill. The State Energy Department recently launched a tool to help Virginians cut electricity costs. WHRO's Catherine Hafner breaks down its function.
The new website called Energy Connect matches residents and businesses with incentives like tax credits, loans, and direct assistance programs. Bettina Burgoo with the Virginia Department of Energy says it can be hard to navigate the options. The state wants to be a one-stop shop.
It consolidates information about incentives that can help Virginia residents and businesses lower their energy bills.
That includes rewards for investing in clean energy, such as solar panels and electric cars, and energy efficiency, like better home insulation and HVAC systems. Many federal incentives expire soon after cuts by the Trump administration, but Burgoo says there are plenty of others through the state, electric utilities, and local governments. Catherine Hafner, WHRO News.
You can find the new platform at energy.virginia.gov/connect.
Jumping over to President Trump's visit to Naval Station Norfolk, where he vowed to repay sailors for a celebration of the Navy's 250th birthday during the government shutdown. WHRO military reporter Steve Walsh went to the ceremony.
President Donald Trump stated before the event on social media that the 250th celebration would be held at Naval Station Norfolk. He told the crowd of over 10,000 sailors they will eventually be paid.
And I want you to know that despite the current Democrat-induced shutdown, we will get our service members every last penny. Don't worry about it.
A 2019 law requires federal employees to be repaid after a shutdown ends, including the military. The backdrop for the event included the carrier USS Truman. While the crowd waited, the president was taken to the carrier USS Bush to witness a Navy flotilla that included 8 destroyers and missile launches. Steve Walsh, WHRO News.
Virginia has more dentists than the national average, but not enough dental hygienists. WHRO health reporter I-Ching Wang reports the gap is even wider in Hampton Roads.
Dentists perform advanced procedures and surgeries, while hygienists handle much of the routine preventive care under dentist's license. Virginia allows one dentist to supervise up to 4 hygienists, but Ryan Dunn from the Virginia Dental Association says the ratio is flipped. In Hampton, for instance, there are 58 dentists and only 32 hygienists.
If you showed up at the hospital and there were more doctors than there were nurses, you'd have a real problem as to getting a quality care.
Dunn says the main obstacle is a lack of hygienist training programs. Virginia Commonwealth University has the only school-based dental hygiene program in the state. It recently increased its enrollment from 16 to 20 to help ease the shortage. I-Ching Wang, WHRO News.
Heading down to North Carolina, where 6 towns along the Albemarle Sound in the northeastern part of the state are hoping to bring more tourists to their waterfront downtowns.
Thanks to $15 million in state funding, the Harbor Towns project is adding cruises, passenger ferries, and improved docking facilities to attract visitors.
WUNC's Colin Campbell has the details.
I'm in the dining room of the Albemarle Queen, a paddle wheel riverboat that's docked at the foot of Broad Street in downtown Edenton. The hum of the engine powering up mixes with the music as more guests climb aboard for a dinner cruise. Captain Ron Keller gives us the obligatory safety demonstration.
A little strap, go ahead and pull tight. Everybody has a camera, by all means, take pictures of each other.
Philip McMullen is here with his family to celebrate his 95th birthday. He was one of the local leaders who first floated the idea of connecting Inner Banks towns through boats on the Albemarle Sound 40 years ago.
It's taken a long, long time.
The idea is to lure Outer Banks tourists inland to spend a day cruising around the small towns of Manteo, Columbia, Plymouth, Edenton, Hertford, and Elizabeth City. But McMullen says early grants to fund the project dried up.
We had the Chamber of Commerce at the Outer Banks heard about what we were trying to do and went to Mark Bassnight, who ran the state at the time. You know of him.
Oh, yeah.
And told Mark, they're trying to steal our customers down here. So all of a sudden, all our support disappeared.
Fast forward a few decades, and new leaders have replaced Bassnight in the state legislature. Republican Representative Ed Goodwin of Edenton secured $5 million in the state budget a few years ago to buy the Albemarle Queen and 2 passenger ferries. The Albemarle Queen had its first full season this year, offering cruises and hosting special events, rotating between the 6 towns. Harbor Town's director Nick Dido says more than 1,500 people took a ride this summer.
We've learned that we can draw people from up in Tidewater, Virginia, and up from Greenville and Wilson and Rocky Mount and even Raleigh.
But while the Albemarle Queen is popular for out-and-back cruises, it's too slow to connect towns across the Sound. Harbor Towns bought 2 high-speed passenger ferries for that effort, but so far they haven't been able to operate regular services connecting the 6 towns. Dido says they've proven expensive to fuel and have operating issues.
We encountered manufacturing problems and mechanical problems all last summer with them. So they are still available for people who want to engage them for an event or a special group outing. But frankly, it was just last week that the Coast Guard finally passed them as serviceable.
Harbor Town's leaders are considering whether to sell the ferries and try another approach for bringing tourists across the Albemarle Sound.
And we're actually thinking about whether those are the right boats to have in motion.
Hertford Mayor Ashley Hodges says he's disappointed the ferries haven't yet been able to connect his historic downtown to some of its busier neighbors. But he's optimistic it'll happen eventually.
I can almost see the town docks from my house. Being able to just walk down there, hop on a boat, and go down to Manteo and come back, 4 or 5 hours later without getting in a car is just an amazing concept.
Harbor Towns is also overseeing a $10 million grant from the 2023 state budget to upgrade waterfront docks and facilities in each of the towns. It's using the money to build better bathrooms and shower facilities, improve docks and boat slips, as well as pump stations. Dido says the goal is to attract boaters traveling up and down the East Coast to venture into the Albemarle Sound and stop for a night or two.
It is rare if any boat off the Intercoastal Waterway comes over into the Albemarle Sound. And the reason is because they can't be accommodated well.
Construction has already begun in Edenton and Elizabeth City, and Harbor Towns is working with the other towns to finalize their waterfront plans. I'm Colin Campbell in Edenton.
Still ahead on Weekly Edition, tax credits that help hundreds of thousands of Virginians is set to expire this year unless Congress intervenes. But first, we head over to Naval Station Oceana, where the Secretary of Defense announced a new housing initiative for junior enlisted sailors and soldiers during a ceremony this week. WHRO military reporter Steve Walsh details the proposal from the station.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced a new barracks initiative as he officiated an enlistment ceremony for 60 recruits from several branches of the military. It was held in a hangar at Oceana with the backdrop of F-18s.
Our warriors continue to live in substandard housing. Every warfighter of our joint force deserves housing that is clean, comfortable, and safe. It's actually really simple.
Hegseth announced that he is establishing a barracks task force, which will create a plan within 30 days to upgrade junior enlisted housing. His plan would use $1 billion from the recent federal spending bill as a down payment. Steve Walsh, WHRO News.
Old Dominion University's latest State of the Region report says changes in federal policies will affect the region's economy in unforeseen ways. WHRO's Toby Cox has more on what to expect from the unexpected.
In one word, ODU economist Bob McNabb describes the Hampton Roads economy as challenging. He says the region has seen economic growth in the years following the pandemic. Defense, the port, and tourism remain the three economic pillars, but recent federal changes add extra uncertainty to these sectors.
We've seen trade through the Port of Virginia slow as the result of tariffs, and we've seen hotel revenues slow as well as international tourism has come under pressure due to the tightening of immigration to the United States.
He says how long the government shutdown lasts will also have large impacts on the economy. Toby Cox, WHRO News.
The tax credits that help over 300,000 Virginians afford health insurance will expire at the end of this year. WHO health reporter Yicheng Wang says the only path to saving it is if Congress renews them.
Nearly 9 in 10 Virginians who buy coverage through the Affordable Care Act receive subsidies. Research from the policy group KFF shows that without them, premiums could more than double next year, costing families about $1,000 more. Becky Roberts says ACA coverage saved her from near blindness caused by spine curvature and diabetes. She hopes the program continues so others don't lose access to care.
I just don't think it's right or it's fair to be put in a position where you're going to die because you can't afford insurance and your employer doesn't offer it.
Local healthcare groups say they're ready to help families find alternatives. Yicheng Wang, WHRO News.
Interest groups supporting the gambling industry are making big investments in the Virginia election this year. WVTF's Michael Pope reports.
Gambling interests are placing their bets in Virginia and hoping to strike it rich, making campaign contributions in the high-stakes 2025 election. And most of the money is going to one side.
They're betting on the Democrats winning.
That's Alex Kina at Virginia Commonwealth University. He points out that the Sports Betting Alliance has given more than $2 million to Democrats and less than a quarter of that to Republicans. Jennifer Victor at George Mason University points out that the Sports Betting Alliance is based in Texas.
Usually when you're looking at all of the various groups and industries and so forth that are donating to candidates, most of them are local. Most of them are from Virginia. And so here to have an out-of-state interest that is playing a really outsized role in this campaign season suggests that they think there's a lot of money to be made.
Proposals to allow for casinos have been some of the most closely watched bills in the General Assembly in recent years. Now, gambling money is second only to contributions from Dominion Energy to political action committees in the House of Delegates. I'm Michael Pope.
A new study links smartphones, sleep problems, and access to pills to teen suicide attempts. Mason Adams from partner station WVTF breaks down the data.
Researchers at the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine sifted through data from patients between the ages of 15 and 17 who were admitted to the psychiatry unit following a suicide attempt by overdosing on pills. They found 2/3 happened after 8 p.m., and 3 out of 4 of the individuals were on screens right before the overdose. Abhishek Reddy is a child and adolescent psychiatrist at Carilion Clinic and an assistant professor at the medical school.
If you have poor sleep hygiene, or if you're on screens late in the night and you have access to pills, those three form a really bad combination.
Previous studies have looked at the role of sleep habits, screen use, and access to pills in adolescent mental health, but not at the combination. Reddy and his team will present their research at the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry annual meeting later this month. In Roanoke, I'm Mason Adams.
Checking in on the peninsula, where Fort Monroe is launching what its leaders call a once-in-a-century landscape plan. WHRO's Nick McNamara reports it has drawn interest from 4 of the world's leading architecture firms.
Field Operations, West 8, Hargraves Jones, and Olin Studio have designed some of the most popular public landscapes and memorials, including New York's High Line and Governor's Island, London's Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, and Berlin's Holocaust Memorial. Representatives from the companies will be at the historic Hampton Fort on October 23rd to make their cases for why they're best suited to craft a plan for Fort Monroe's future.
Frederick Law Olmsted, when he designed Central Park, was the only one who saw the Central Park we see today. How the city was going to grow around this place. And his plan is what spoke to that and shaped it. We have to be the same way.
That's Fort Monroe CEO Scott Martin. A jury of Virginia's leading landscape and design experts will recommend one to the Fort's Board of Trustees. The chosen firm will head a year-long process of community engagement to help shape the plan's final look. Nick McNamara, WHRO News.
We have a polling update on the gubernatorial race.
A new poll from Christopher Newport University shows Democrat Abigail Spanberger leads Republican Winsome Earl Sears by 10 points.
WHRO's Michelle Hankerson has more on the state's biggest race.
CNU's Rebecca Bromley-Trujillo says that's a 2-point drop for Spanberger since the university's poll in September. The decrease is within the margin of error.
It does still look good for Spanberger. We've still got 6% indicating they're undecided, and so certainly there's room for movement, but this remains, I would say, a tough hill to climb for Earl Sears.
CNU's poll found Sears is leading among white and male voters. The survey polled 805 likely Virginia voters between September 29th and October 1st. Pollsters also asked about issues as Election Day approaches. Healthcare emerged as one of the top 5 most important issues to respondents. That's a shift from last month, Bromley-Trujillo says.
I think this reflects the national discussions we're seeing about the Affordable Care Act and potential for subsidy increases that might be reflected in the discussion of the shutdown.
The government shutdown is caused by an impasse in Congress. Democrats want to extend healthcare discounts and Republicans don't. Without those subsidies, individual healthcare costs will increase, and rural hospitals in particular may feel significant financial strain. Michelle Hankerson, WHRO News.
The ongoing government shutdown has halted federal flood insurance. As WHRO's Catherine Hefner reports, many in southeastern Virginia rely on that program.
Many neighborhoods in Hampton Roads are high-risk flood zones, and home buyers must have flood insurance to get a mortgage. Floods are not covered by most homeowners' policies, so most buyers turn to the government's National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP, which covers almost anyone. Jay Mitchell is president of the Hampton Roads Realtors Association.
There are a few private funders, but not many. The NFIP typically is the best route.
But during the shutdown, the program can't write new policies or renew existing ones. That means some buyers may have to wait to close on their home.
We're sort of in a hold until the government moves again.
Mitchell says local realtors haven't noticed impacts on the market yet, but that could change soon if the shutdown continues. Catherine Hafner, WHRO News.
Looking for something new to do around the area? A new booklet helps folks discover sites that are part of Black history in Hampton Roads communities. WHRO's John Doucette has more on the initiative.
It's called A Trail of Trials and Triumphs, Unveiling Black History in Hampton Roads. 50,000 copies will help guide people on local journeys. Stops include a one-room schoolhouse in a Virginia Beach farming community and Newsom House in Newport News. Dr. Amelia Ross Hammond is a Virginia Beach City Council member and chairperson of the Virginia African American Cultural Center.
If this getting to the hands of people visiting our area, they will see the wealth of African American history we have in Hampton Roads.
She developed the guide with former Virginia Travel Association President Kurt Krause. He says Hampton Roads has a lot for visitors and locals to discover.
We are blessed with just a bundle of great attractions and stories.
John Doucette, WHRO News.
The booklets can be found at Welcome and Visitor Centers in Hampton Roads.
Back on the peninsula, Williamsburg's Tabletop Role-Playing Game Festival is returning for its second year with more games, music, and workshops. WHRO's Nick McNamara cracks open the game board to share more.
Role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons have been at the pinnacle of pop culture for the past decade, inspiring popular shows and award-winning video games. BurgQuest's organizers are well aware of the interest. Adam Stackhouse says this year's festival aims to build off of that and the foundation it created in 2024.
There's such a growing fun culture, board games, tabletop games, and there's a lot of people looking for reasons to come play together.
The festival's running from Friday through Sunday at the Sadler Center at William & Mary, featuring game design workshops, panel discussions, historical combat demos, and a cosplay contest. Nick McNamara, WHRO News.
Public schools in Virginia are now required to ban student cell phone usage during school hours, a result of legislation signed by Governor Glenn Youngkin in late May.
But what does that mean now that school is back in session?
Well, Aisha Pirga with partner station WMRA has that report.
The legislation follows an executive order from last year in which Youngkin called for the establishment of cell phone-free education in Virginia. Nancy Deutsch is a faculty member at the University of Virginia School of Education and Human Development.
The idea is that students should not have access to their phones pretty much from the time they step in the building until the time that they leave. It does not lay out how schools should implement that.
She also directs the Youth Next Center and co-directs the Thriving Youth in a Digital Environment initiative at UVA. Thoth says her hope is that we see greater engagement in class, but she says she doesn't see phone bans in school as the solution for the youth mental health crisis.
Youth mental health is a very complex issue, and there are ways that decreasing access to digital technology during the day could help improve mental health. There also may be cases where it could actually hurt mental health if youth suddenly feel anxious about not being able to contact family.
And she says that there's a lot of finger pointing towards social media as having a negative impact on mental health.
It could be that it actually works to reduce kids' time on social media overall because they spend less time on it during the school day. But it could also increase use out of school, right?
Rhonda Lancaster is in her 21st year of teaching high school English. She currently works at Millbrook High School in Frederick County. She says 2 years ago, it was at the teacher's discretion whether they restricted phone use in class. Last year, based on Frederick County's interpretation of the governor's executive order, students were allowed to use phones at certain times during the day, such as between school periods or at lunch.
And now this year, we've gone one level up from there, where the starting bell of the day at 7:55 to the final bell at 2:30, they cannot have their phones in sight.
Lancaster thinks dealing with cell phones in public schools is a complicated issue, but that she appreciates not having to worry about phones during class.
I think from the student perspective, it's been a challenge because they do view their phones as so much a part of themselves.
And she says it's not just a phone.
It is a computer. It is a camera.
Students do get to keep their phones with them as long as they're following the policy. But what do the students think? Elizabeth Tickog is a junior at Hanley High School in Winchester. Hanley started a pilot program last year when students were required to have their phones and personal electronic devices off and away for the entire school day. Tickog says that the first week or two, it was a bit nerve-wracking to learn her schedule without an app, but she says,
it's pretty easy to get used to. It's just off and away the entire day.
Josiah Johnson is a senior at Hanley. He agrees with Tickog.
I would say the biggest impact from coming from last year would be that everybody's used to it.
None of these students see a difference in the amount of time they spend on their phones outside of school, but Tickog says she's a little more appreciative of her music time. However, she does see it as a safety hazard.
Just because of the climate of this country and the dangers that schools and students face, I find it slightly discomforting, especially at lunch when our phones are far away. It's kind of if something bad were to happen, not having that communication.
Hanley High School has an alert system that allows families to receive phone calls, notifications, and emails in emergency situations.
You've been listening to WHRO's Weekly Edition. We had help today from WHRO's Catherine Hafner, Yicheng Wang, Toby Cox, Michelle Hankerson, John Doucette, and Steve Walsh.
WVTF's Michael Pope and Mason Adams, and Aisha Pirgo with WMRA.
Also Connor Worley, who produced today's show.
A reminder that you can always catch full episodes on the Weekly Edition podcast feed. You can get your news updates at WHRO.org and the WHRO Reports podcast feed. For all of us at WHRO and WHRV, I'm Barry Graham.
And I'm Jordan Christie. Have a great weekend.